Okay, my name is Eric Yostin, and we're starting the Environmental Protection Commission regular meeting and public hearing Wednesday, June 3, 2020.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, again, this is our second time doing a go-to meeting here. And like everything else, some people have more experience about doing go-to meetings than others. We have Fred Donuts on that, who's sort of the technical director on keeping this. He's muted everybody. If you want to speak, you have to unmute yourself. So for commission members, we'll be using the order that's given in the, and I'll take a roll call here to see who's here. I got Jim Millard, I see Jim. Susan McKenzie.
I'm here, Chief.
Okay, gotcha, Susan. Gunnar, I see you. Michael Irvin is not here tonight. Kelly, I see you. By the way, congratulations to your daughter. So I heard that she was pretty impressive. And Bill Wright. Okay, I see you, Bill. Okay, so when I call for comments and things, I'll be going down in that order so you know when you'll be called. Okay, the first item of business tonight is new business, EPC 14-2020, Robert and Carolyn Hulick at 9 Nolan Lane, proposing shed replacement in a regulated area. The site is shown on Assessor's Map number 8 as lot number 36. And I guess representing the applicant is Mr. the Hulicks?
Mr. Hulick, I don't know if he's here. I wasn't sure if he was. Hello?
Mr. Hulick? Okay.
Yeah, I sent you a note that said, he has a shed that's existing in the wetlands. It's in poor repair.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't comply with the town
Can
setback.
you hear me all?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
So the existing shed is in poor condition, doesn't comply with setback. I reviewed it with Mr. Hulick other options. There's really no other place to put the shed. Rather than leave it in that location of the wetland, it makes more sense to put it closer to the driveway. It's more accessible, and it can be put on a proper foundation. And with some minor restoration of the area, it'll be further from the stream. The reason it's on as an application is I can't do it as an agent.
Okay, you can't do it as an agent. And then the question is wetland restoration and invasive species. Is there some,
I don't have a detailed plan, but it's a fairly small area. I think I can work out just he's offered to move a couple of trees and put in some planting where the old shed is.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
Mr. Hulick is not on, correct?
I'm here.
he's there.
Okay. Would you want to walk us through this application?
Sure. Yeah, so as you can see, I took a couple pictures of the existing shed as is. The foundation is watered away on the bottom. It was not placed on any proper foundation, just the wood on top of the rather wet ground there. It is in that wetlands area next to the deer fence and then our property fence on the other side. The proposal here is to move the shed frankly just a couple feet up towards the driveway and then also rotate it 90 degrees so that we could have the door facing onto the onto the driveway so that we could access it with bikes and other things for kids to get them easily out of the shed. Mm-hmm. I think you accomplish a couple of things here. I think you move it farther, as Richard just said. I believe that was Richard,
Yes.
Moving it farther away from the actual throughway from the water. You'll also remove it from that encroachment on the building setback. So I think you're clearing two things there, and the shed actually becomes usable. We can clear that area, beautify it with some plantings, a couple of trees that we'll remove next to the driveway. And then some other things we can clear away there. So I think it's generally pretty straightforward. It becomes a usable piece of our property, and I think moves it farther away from the wettest area of the property as well. We're currently, in terms of the project plan, just sourcing a couple of quotes on moving the structure and then refurbishing it. I wanted to make sure that we front ran this with you to make sure that there were no issues with the placement of the shed before we had someone take a look at it.
Okay, so this is you're gonna move the shed onto a foundation, or you're going to build a new shed?
No, we're gonna take the existing shed and move it onto a prepared piece of land with a proper foundation next to the driveway.
Just out of curiosity, do you have any idea when this was built?
I do not. We moved into the property last year. The house was built in the 60s. It's in pretty good condition other than the foundation. I'd imagine sometime in the 90s.
It's actually on the 1991 survey.
It is on the 1991 survey.
Right, so it would be sometime 91,
Yep.
prior to 91, yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'll start with commission member comments. Jim Millard?
I'll take a word from Mr. Hulick. This seems very straightforward. I completely understand the reasoning, all the reasons Mr. Hulick shared with us for wanting to move this, convenience for children, farther away from wetlands, farther away from setback lines. I am fine with everything.
Okay. Thank you. Susan?
I'm good, thank you. Mr.
Okay.
Miller.
Okay. Gunnar?
It sounds like it's a net improvement, so I'm okay with it, going along with Rich Jacobson's recommendation.
Okay. Kelly?
I agree as well, as long as there's some native plantings put in the space where the shed is now. I think it sounds like an improvement.
Okay. Bill?
I'm fine.
Okay. I would just make a comment that seemed to be unanimous here, Rich, but just that whatever plantings are done, they just run it by you.
Yeah.
Okay, just, not that that's a big deal, but just to make sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Okay,
Write it up for-
Mr. Hulick, thank you very much.
Write it up.
Yeah, write it up.
Any other questions? Just let me know.
Right, thank you very much. You'll get a letter in the mail from Rich stating,
Well, you have to
giving
vote
you
on it.
official permission.
We have to vote on it in July.
Oh, yeah, we'll be voting, we have to draft a letter, we have to vote on it for the official permission, and then we'll, but as you've heard the comments tonight, it's pretty unanimous. So, but the official permission will come in a letter that we'll approve next meeting. Okay?
Thank you.
Alrighty. Okay, moving on to piece of old business, EPC 08-2020, Michael Brennan, 22 Seagate Road, proposing new replacement house construction in an upland review area. The site is shown on Assessor's Map number 53 as lot number 45. And that's going to be, who's that, Rich?
I'm sorry.
Oh, who's
The condition approval letter.
yeah,
I had a
that's the
comment.
conditional approval letter.
I had a comment, Susan had a couple of typos, so I can correct those. I have them, I have
Yep.
her email.
I have one here from Roletta and the applicants.
Okay.
Okay, Jim, do you have any?
Only to point out to Rich, maybe he just alerted us all that he's caught it. Rich, in the expiration date on the conditional approval,
Oh, it should be 25,
and I think it should be June 2nd of
June 2nd,
2025.
2025. Yes, you're right.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Wow, that's great. Good catch. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to move to the public hearing section. The first item on the agenda is EPC 05-2020. Joe Pagliarulo, 49 Sunswick Road, proposing a two-lot subdivision and related house construction, septic system construction, and filling and grading within an upland review area. The site is shown on Assessor's Map number 62 as lot number 25 and 28. This public hearing is continued for May 6, 2020. Okay, Doug? Doug DeVesta, are you on?
Yes, I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yep. Yes, I can.
Okay. Can I take the screen then?
I just gave it to you, Doug.
There we go. Okay. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Give me a lunch.
Okay. For the record,
Individuals
my name
can
is Dr.
enlarge
Vesta, professional engineer, represent the applicant. What I'll start off with is the map I'm showing you right now is the basically the overall subdivision. All right, overall property located at 49 Sunswick Road. It's 2.5 acres in size. We're in the R1 zone. There's an existing residence on the northern part of the property with a detached garage on the southern part of the property with an existing septic system located behind the existing garage. There's a driveway on the north side servicing the garage. The proposal, the house was built in 1926 according to the assessor's card. The detached garage was built in 1980 according to the assessor's card. Wetland flag, which is shown in a lighter green color, located on the westerly side, and a piece of it located on the easterly side, was flagged by J. Fain Associates January 9, 2020, located by the surveyors. Approximately 1,536 square feet of wetland located on the south side here, and then about 8,000 square feet on the westerly side, northwest side of the property. Again, the house is served by a septic system and by municipal water coming off of Sunswick Road. There are two catch basins located at the entrance of the driveway. Back to here, right in here, one here, and then they come down, flow in a southerly direction to the southerly wetlands, and then head down in a westerly direction, ultimately heading down towards Long Island Sound. The proposal is to subdivide the parcel into two single-family building lots and raise the existing residence and garage and construct two new residents on the property. We did multiple test holes out there looking for septic areas. We found basically 4 septic areas, 2 primary and 2 reserve. One found a reserve area along the southern property of the lot number 1, which is the southern lot, and lot number 2, the northern lot, behind the existing house. The septic was reviewed and approved by Dave Knopf, the Director of Health, just yesterday. The plan that you've seen, was slightly modified due to the comments from the health department, and the only thing it affected was the location of the septic system on the northern leg there. So that was the only change on the site, on the plan. I will get copies to Rich, which is the only change was the septic location of the northern leg of the leaching field for lot number 2. As we talked about, each new residence will be served by municipal water. The footprints you see here are actual footprints. These will be what will be constructed if the subdivision gets approved through EPC and through planning and zoning, which we'll be hearing next week on. And the septic systems, obviously, and they were designed accordingly to the number of bedrooms, which each of them have 4 bedrooms. Based on our meeting from March 4th to now, there was a comment from one of the commission members to get the southern lot number 1, further from the wetlands and reconfigure it. Originally, we had a driveway that came along the northern, used the same entrance that the existing driveway is right now, came around along the north side, along the northern property line, and served as the garage at the rear of the house there. But that pushed the septic, and that pushed the drainage, the house pool, further into the wetlands upland review area. We went back in, we revised the footprint of the house. We now have a front courtyard house, pushed the house further to the north, right up against the setback, and pushed it easterly towards the easterly setback. So we pulled the house further back from the upland review area, which is shown on this plan with the red line. In terms of drainage, there's basically a divide that runs from east to west, almost along the property line. So you have a piece that goes to the north and a piece that goes to the south, drainage-wise. We did a pre- and post-development analysis on this property, again, looking at this property in terms of pre-development conditions as a open meadow or wooded area, not getting any credit for any existing structure, so we took a conservative approach to it. We looked at and we collected the runoff from the roof areas, the driveway, some of the lawn areas, and detained it into detention systems on the property. We've got a detention system for the lot number 1, southern lot right behind the pool, and a piece of it in the front of the house by the driveway. And for lot number 2, the northern lot, we have a detention system to the north and east of or west of the existing house. They were designed to handle the 2, 10, 25, and 50-year design storm. So we show a reduction in the impervious areas. In terms of erosion controls, we've got silt fence below any of the cuts and fill areas, west of the drainage system on the lot 2, below the septic area on lot number 2, westerly side, on the southerly side of the drainage system, or the septic system for lot number 1, and along the wetlands line itself. This plan was sent out to Joe Canis as a peer review. Joe sent out comment letters on March 27th, and we responded back. What we did is that he asked, one of the questions was to, come on out. The line I'm showing, I don't know if you can see my cursor or not. This is an existing drainage pipe from the 2 catch basins on Sunset Road that discharged into the wetlands area around wetlands flag number 14. We just had some silt fence there, and Joe noticed some erosion during a site walk. He asked to put a perform scour hole in there. There's a detail on my sheet. All that's going to do is going to allow the water to drop in there, slow velocities down, and then drain out back into the wetlands as it currently does right now. So that was added to the site plan from the last meeting. He asked about putting we're going to put a patio around the pool on lot number 2, and we're not. We're going to leave it as a grass area, kind of a nice natural looking area around the pool itself. Joe asked about the inverts of the detention system, why they were so high. Basically, that was for the water quality volume. Handle that. He also talked about the going into the junction boxes for lot number 1 for the detention system, and then also for the detention system for lot number 2, which is on the north end of the system. The pipes will be separated from roof drains and footing drains going into the various detention systems. He asked about infiltration, the drawdown, infiltration from the, make sure that the systems would drain within 72 hours. We did calculations to show that they will be draining within 72 hours, which is part of the design manual for stormwater quality. He asked about putting in on the bends the 6-inch PVC pipe from the various points, from the roof leaders or from the catch basins. We said they would not put them in there because this is basically clean water coming in there. Also, on all the catch basins, there are hoods and sumps that will collect any solids and any floatables, so they will not clog up the pipe itself. He asked us to put in on the plan the maintenance schedule of the plan, and that can be located on the far left, bottom left of my sheet there. That's the maintenance for the drainage system itself. Previously, we had on the outfalls from the detention system for lot 1, which is south and west of the septic system, we had a point discharge, and same thing with the discharge for the detention system for lot 2. We just had a point discharge. Joe asked us to put it into a level spreader, and we're providing a level spreader where the outfall from the detention systems will drain to. He asked also to beef up the silt fence or the erosion control, so down gradient of the septic area for lot number 2. We're providing a double row silt fence there and along the wetlands line on the south side of lot number 1 there before it gets to the wetlands area. So that's all double silk fence on there. He also asked that we put in silk sacks at the 2 catch basins at the beginning of the driveway. The existing catch basins on the driveway, the existing driveway. So we're providing those things. He also asked about the erosion, the slopes on the septic areas on lot number 1 and lot number 2. That we use some kind of erosion control mats, blankets on there, and we have a note on the plan stating that we'll use erosion control mats on those areas there. Then he also talked about the 48-inch oak that is located to the north of the existing driveway and the proposed driveway for lot 1. We have a note on the plan saying that an arborist will take a look at that oak tree before the construction of the retaining wall along that side there to make sure that tree or take any suggestions how to protect that tree and if that would be an impact on the construction of the retaining wall, the impact on the that tree there. Then last couple questions. We would provide some plantings along the septic areas, lot 1 and 2, for erosion control. And at this time, there's no planting plan proposed. I believe Matt Pop is on as well. He can go through and talk about the environmental assessment of the property. Matt, you want to chime in about your report?
Good, thank you. Everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you, Matt.
Landscape architect. Thank you. Landscape architect, professional wetland scientist from Environmental Land Solutions. We prepared the environmental assessment report and a mitigation plan for the project. We visited the site several times in March of this year, and we reviewed Doug's site plans. As Doug noted, the site is 2.6 acres or so. It's located on the west side of the road. It's surrounded by residential neighbors. As Doug noted, there's an existing house. I don't know if I think it's solar or not. There's an existing house, a detached garage, sort of to the north of the house. There's an existing shed, driveway. There's extensive landscaping on the eastern portion of the site. Through the middle of this site, there's a ridge. Land to the east of that ridge line is gently sloping. It's high up in elevation. The land to the west of that ridge line drops about 20 to 30 feet in a slope down to a low-lying wetland area. So the western half of the site is wooded and maintained in a natural state. The eastern half, where the house is, the detached garage, is maintained more ornamentally and more developed. There are 2 wetland areas on the site. The larger wetland is located down in the bottom of that, let's call it a ravine. It extends off the site. It's vegetated with large trees, mainly red maples, oaks, and sweet gums. The understory is somewhat sparse. There's some invasive species, barbarian multiple rose. There's also some spice bush, some sedges, and poison ivy, sensitive fern. The functions of a larger wetland system, the gently sloping topography at the bottom there, vegetation, which is somewhat dense, and some surface water. Functions include groundwater discharge, stormwater is discharged out of the hillside to that wetland. Since it is a large flat wetland, there's sediment retention, and the vegetation in there removes nutrients from stormwater runoff. The plants in there provide food for wildlife, like most wetlands of this size, wooded wetlands, it's good wildlife habitat. There's some recreational opportunities for that. So those are the primary functions of that larger wetland. Along the southern property line, there's a narrow wetland finger that it's right along the southern property line. It's defined by a man-made sort of rocky swell. The one area, part of it, goes right up to that wetland line. I think it even extends to the wetland. There's attached garages located approximately maybe 15 feet, 20 feet away from that wetland area. That area is again vegetated with red maples, sweet gums, shad. If the shad were planted. The functions of that smaller finger include mainly conveyance of stormwater runoff. As Doug pointed out, that there was a discharge point from the road. There is a small point there, right, that discharges into this wetland. And again, it's an intermittent water course that goes to the middle of the finger. And there's some groundwater discharge. The secondary functions would include some sediment retention, again, nutrient removal of plants, some wildlife habitat, some recreational opportunities. We did check the Natural Diversity Database map for this site, and there's no known species of special concern in species on this site. We are proposing a two-lot subdivision, so it would include removing the detached garage, moving the house, the shed, and proposing two lots, two houses, swimming pool, and there's two septic systems are proposed. Both lots have underground detention galleries for infiltrating stormwater runoff. Southern lot, lot number 1, the house is located mainly
Yeah.
there is no on this lot. There is no direct wetland development. We are working within the upland review area, and again, that upland review area we're working in is mainly where the detached garage is, lawn areas.
The volume's not, he's chopping in.
It's chopping.
Hey, excuse me, Matt. Excuse me, Matt. This is Eric, and the audio seems to be cutting in, cutting out. I'm not hearing you really clearly. I'm not sure if it's on your side or Fred. Is there something that we can do to improve the situation?
I'm going to try to call it.
Yeah, this is more of a connection issue, so Matt, if you can call in, that would be helpful.
What was he doing it from his computer?
Let me try calling it.
So,
It's good that they colored it. It's easier to read on
Oh,
the screen
yeah.
with the color. Doug has all that line work, so
Yeah, no, it's good.
yeah, because
That-
looking at the plans on your phone, it's tough. It's tough because sometimes it's easier to see their lips moving,
Yes,
everything.
we all
But
do
in
lip
this
reading.
case,
Yeah.
it was cutting in and out. And
I was, because wait a minute, you know. So, no, I'm with you, so.
so let's see.
Well, I think we're good, Jeremy, if you need to. if you
Yeah,
need
well,
to.
that's going to leave in a minute.
Yeah,
Just want to
okay.
hear a little bit what Matt had to say.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Make sure
Okay.
Pending, try one more time.
She's Christine Hamilton Hall is.
Yep, we can hear you, Matt. Go ahead.
So the northern lot, lot number 2, the existing house is located in the vicinity of, the proposed house is located in the location of the existing house. There is no direct wetland impact on this site either. With a site like this, the primary impacts that we're concerned about, because there's some steep slopes in the back, is erosion from sedimentation and the steep slopes with water runoff. We did prepare a mitigation plan. On lot number 1, along the intermittent water course, small wetland, a finger, we're proposing to restore the wetland buffer, proposing planting 5 understory.
Hey, Matt, this isn't a lot better because it seems to. Fred, has he dialed in? What's changed?
Matt, are you on your cell phone now?
Better.
Yeah,
No,
but it was
not
still.
yet. Hang on, try.
Seemed better, no?
Slightly better, but still, He has. Okay,
There we go.
Yep, we can hear you, Matt.
I'm getting a little echo on my phone.
Make sure your audio is off on your computer.
Okay, we're off. So you just turn the audio off. Okay. So the northern lot number 2, the house is located in the vicinity of the existing house and the existing shed. Again, on lot number 2, like lot number 1, there is no direct wetland impact. On a project on a site like this, the main impacts that we're concerned about to a wetland are from erosion and sedimentation from the site, steep slopes to erode. But luckily on this site, the slopes are mainly rocky. And we do have an erosion control plan to contain that erosion and sedimentation. We did prepare a wetland mitigation plan on lot number 1 along the southern property line where the wetland finger is located. We are proposing to restore the wetland buffer along the northern side of that wetland finger. So we're proposing to plant 4 shade trees. Shade trees are the larger growing trees, 5 understory trees, and a massing of shrubs. We're also proposing to plant 24 evergreen trees, mainly for wildlife habitat, and to screen out the neighbor to the south to provide them some screening from development. On the northern lot, we're proposing to the left of the swimming pool that's going down the slope. There is somewhat of a steep slope that's being proposed. We're proposing to plant that with a massing of 70 feet shrubs, which will be maintained with meadow grasses. We're also proposing 4 understory trees in that location. We did recommend, as Doug noted, that an arborist be maintained to provide tree protection measures for that large tree in the front, but also I think throughout the site would be wise. Here. I think I'm getting feedback. So to kind of sum up, it's a 2-lot subdivision with 2 single-family homes. We're proposing the development on the higher, gently sloping development site, the existing developed site.
The woodland to the west, and the ravine would be maintained in its natural undisturbed state. There are no direct wetland impacts from the development, and we are proposing to restore some of the wetland buffer on Lot 2 by replanting it. We're proposing stormwater treatment, as Doug noted, of the road plan, and we are proposing screening of the neighbor to the south. With these mitigation measures and Doug's site plan with erosion controls, I don't anticipate any adverse impact to the. Any question? I'm happy to answer that.
Jim Millard?
Hi, Phil Riggio. We're at 59 Sunswick. Why aren't existing structures pictured on this map? I mean, how do you make a determination of a proposal without any clear picture of the impact on existing structures?
It's Riggio.
Do you guys hear me?
We might not be allowed to talk right now.
Yes, I think you have to wait till the public.
Jim Millard.
Okay, that's fine.
Excuse
Thank
me,
you.
excuse me a second. Excuse me a second, I have to take control of the meeting. The public has not been invited to speak yet. I'm going through the commission members first, then the public will be invited to speak, and you'll have as much time as you need. The question was to Jim Millard. Okay, do you have any questions or comments that you'd like to make to Matt Pop?
Not to Matt Pop. Two questions that I did have, Mr. DeVesta and Mr. Pop, and my reading of Joe Canis's notes, which I found very helpful. So that put me at ease on those, and I just have some other observations when you want me back on, Eric.
After
we go through the
members, yeah.
Okay. Okay, Susan?
No, I think they did a good job addressing the questions we raised from last month's meeting, or month before, so I thank you for that.
Gunnar?
Okay, I walked the property with one of the neighbors yesterday, mainly regarding the lot number 1. His property abuts that property line for lot number 1 on probably, I guess, the eastern side. And he pointed out there's another water drain pipe that's not depicted anywhere on any of these drawings. It's clearly there. He pointed it out and showed me where it goes underneath the road, under Sunswick Road, and then pointed out that when there is substantial rain, that water course really gets quite a bit of quite a lot of water coming through there. And the neighbor was very concerned that the proposed new construction house was way too close to the wetland area, and he's not opposed to building a house, but they felt that it should be even further away from the wetlands than what you have on this revised plan. On another note, they were not able to, I guess they were told they could come to the meeting, but they were not able to actually get into the building. And I've been getting, I don't know if this is okay or not, but he's been sending me some text messages asking me to put in a request that somehow a delay on this thing so they can get their 2 cents in. I think they're attempting to get on.
I'll talk on his behalf in a little bit if you'd like, Mr. Edelstein.
Who's that?
This is Christine Hamilton Hall. I own the property on the southern border of property number 1.
Okay, we haven't, well, the public
So
hasn't.
open it up. We will discuss that.
Yeah, let's continue through the commission members. And so there was an issue raised, and we'll, hopefully it'll be addressed, Doug, that that appears to be 2 tubes, outlet tubes for water there, and according to this map, there's 1. So I kind of, I'd like to see what your response is. But in the meantime, I'd like to continue down through, after Gunnar, it's Kelly.
Okay, so those are my only comments. That the neighbor said that they're really the other. There's another, as I said, another drain pipe that is not depicted on any of these drawings or charts. And there's more. Basically there's more water than you would expect. So that's definitely a concern. That's pretty much all I have.
Okay. Okay, Kelly?
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you for taking into consideration my comments from the last meeting on lot number 1. I'm happy to see it moved further back from the wetlands, and I don't have any other comments at this time.
Okay. Bill Wright? Bill?
Here we go. There we go. Sorry. I had the same comment as Kelly. They did move it back some. It still is under 20 feet, but I think that is not a really superb wetland area there. But if there's going to be more water going into it, if there's another drainage into that we didn't know about, that could be a problem. So I guess we'll have to hear more about that.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay, do we want to go to Joe Canas?
I'll let Doug answer that, I think. He should
Okay.
address those.
Okay, Doug, do you want to answer the comments from the commission members?
Sure. I'll need control of the, can you see my drawing up the board or not? The screen. It's up there, okay. The first question about a pipe that comes under Sunsweck Road. Let's see, there is a pipe that comes in, I believe it's somewhere through here. It's a 6-inch corrugated plastic pipe that it looks like it comes in from a neighbor's pond that is, get rid of this thing now. There's a neighbor that, sorry, that's been messed up. Okay, there's a pond somewhere where the word legend is on my plan there. There's a pond in that area there. Talking to the owner's daughter that pipe will run when that pond gets full. I've been out there multiple times. I have not seen that pipe running at all, but I guess when that pond gets full, it runs down through the woods and then back into the wetlands lot, the wetlands area around between flag number 13 and 14. So yes, there is a pipe up there that the surveyors may not have seen it when they were out there because it is kind of buried under the leaves and things like that. The other question was regarding moving the house on lot 1 further from the wetlands. We pushed this house based on comments from the commission as far up as we possibly can due to the various setbacks. We've got side yard setbacks on the north side, and we have a front yard setback on the easterly side. So the house is as far as possible from the wetlands area due to the zoning requirements for the setbacks. Is there any other questions with that?
Hi, Doug. This is Matt. Could you zoom in and show the existing house outline so that you can the plans do show where the existing house, a detached garage? I think even on that rendering that you had showed it.
Here it is. Here's the existing house. Here's the existing detached garage, and here is the proposed. Here's the existing house right there.
But if you go to your rendering, you can see that where it lays out.
Right. Here's the existing garage and driveway there. Then the existing house is sitting approximately underneath the existing or proposed house on lot number 2.
So Any other questions? Doug, it's Bernard Edelstein again. So where the new proposed garage, have you considered moving that to the other side of the house? That would get some of that structure further away from the wetland. And the other thing is that second undepicted pipe really is pretty obscure. You'd have only probably a local neighbor with local knowledge would ever find that. It's pretty well hidden under the brush and leaves and stuff.
Yeah, this is Eric. Yeah, I'd like to follow up on that, Gunnar. Yes, that's true. However, I have, one of my hobbies is going to visit sites and applications when it's pouring rain, and I happen to see that thing. That thing can pump water from that pond. So trust me, it does run, Doug. Now the question is, for me, is obviously it's not on the site map. Okay, one is, so the site map has to be, reflect the fact that it's there. Okay, the second thing is to Matt Pop, that says that now that there is two pipes there, okay, does your environmental study and your environmental impact have to be adjusted and to reflect the second pipe?
The only thing it would be is the existing conditions would say that there is, a second pipe there. I don't think it wouldn't change any conclusion. The water isn't any closer to the project. I'm not really concerned about where it's piped. I'm just concerned about where the water is at the surface, where it actually becomes a water course. So where it is piped, that wouldn't be a water course. So where it does daylight, that's where I would be interested to know. So again, it's all within that same narrow wetland finger. It's not any closer to the proposed development than the existing water course. It's all the same where it comes out.
Does that change any of the water calculations for the wetland as it goes downstream? Because I'm concerned about the gentleman that's at the base of the at the, I guess it would be southwest corner. Okay, when we change when we do a little filling and grading here. Okay, what's going to happen to all that water that ends up down? I guess it's just beyond the property line of this. Of 49 Sunswick.
Well, it's not going to change anything, Eric, because it's existing, and we base our calculations on our numbers, pre-development, post-development. Whether we included that in our number or not, we're still showing a zero increase in runoff from our development, and we took a conservative approach to it, as the town requires, looking at as this property as being a vacant lot, 2.6-acre parcel, empty, vacant, without any structures on it. So basically, with that number in there, that's not really going to change the overall calculation to the runoff getting down to the southwest corner. Maybe Joe Candace, who's on here, maybe he could, maybe he can chime in on this as well and get his view on it. And plus, Joe did review of our calculations, and he's basically approved our drainage calculations. Maybe Joe can take a few words about this.
First of all, Doug, I think the second drain should be shown on the map. Okay, for accuracy purposes. Okay.
Yeah, that's no problem.
That's no problem. And just I hate to be nitpicky here, but the magnificent tree, the 48-inch tree in the front of the house, is not an oak tree but a tulip tree, properly identified by Jim Millard. So kudos to Jim. Okay. So if you change that, but yeah, let's go to Joe Coniston. Let's go through your communication, Joe. And because obviously you've exchanged correspondence with Doug.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. For the record, my name is Joseph Hannis. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut. a principal engineer with the firm of Ty and Bond. We were retained by the commission to review the stormwater management and sediment erosion control aspects of the application. I visited the site in late March with Rich Jacobson and Jeremy Ginsberg, and I generated my first comment letter on March 27th, 2020. I had a series of comments on that letter, to which the applicant's engineer responded. And I issued a letter on April 8th, 2020, where I basically stated that I was satisfied with the changes the applicant's engineer made to the plan and had no further comments. So from our standpoint, the sediment erosion controls are adequate. They meet the requirements of the regulations, as well as the stormwater management. Now, when I was out in the field, I did not see that other pipe, that 6-inch pipe that goes into that southerly wetland area. But looking at the plan, based on my visit, the stormwater management is based on a comparison of existing and proposed conditions on the site. And so what's coming into that wetland from the north, through that smaller pipe, that's not going to change because obviously there's no changes proposed on any of the upstream properties. And Mr. DeVesta's calculations show that the quantity of stormwater, the rate of runoff as a result of the proposed development will actually be slightly reduced because of the stormwater management features that are being constructed on the site. So based on that, I don't think that pipe coming into that solar pipe coming into the wetland area, that changes the stormwater management design of this proposal.
Okay, Joe. Okay, Joe, anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay, and then I got another question on basements. Okay, where you're going to build the basement, have you been able to run, a perk test? Doug?
The perk test where the basements are going?
Yeah, no, what's the water table there?
So it's a lot of ledge out there, Eric. So we're going to probably be doing some blasting to put the basements in.
Oh, you're going to be doing something.
We did hit groundwater on
The basement.
behind the existing garage there. Let me get my numbers there for you. So we've got the sump pump and footing drains all just tying into the detention system. So if that's your ultimate question, yes, we are handling the groundwater either through a sump pump or through gravity feed.
Okay, because, I ask you this question on every application, because when we start putting in when you put in a basement, how deep is the basement going to be?
Probably a 9-foot basement.
Okay.
I don't know what the exact would be, but probably 9 foot.
Okay, and if the water table is, I think you said last time it was 4 or 5 feet?
Yeah, about 4 feet down. Yep.
Okay, so as a result, that basement's going to be taken on water, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right?
Depends on the time of year, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Typically. Right, well, you remember you have this spring water fed pond by his legend, remember that, Rich? So you propose that these sump pumps are gonna go, the water that these sump pumps are gonna eject are gonna go where?
Into the detention system for lot 1 and the detention system for lot number 2.
So now, when it rains, do your calculations include do your calculations include question for you too, Joe Connors. Do the calculations include the water that's accumulated from the roof leaders, et cetera, the impervious surface, as well as the sump pumps that are going to be going, that will be filling up and pumping out water?
Lot number 2.
Yeah.
That lot number 2 is mostly going to be in ledge. So really, we're probably not going to hit any groundwater in that area. They will have a footing drain around the foundation for requirement. Lot number 1, we did hit groundwater around 48 inches, 50 inches down. So we'll be hitting groundwater there. The detention system is designed for up to a 50-year design storm. And the calculation, really, we did not include those into the numbers there, but we've got a large detention system there that will handle up to a 50-year design storm. And I believe that there's enough capacity in there to handle the footing drain water. Joe, if you want to chime in on this.
This is again for the record, Joe Canis. In reviewing the calculations, I do remember that there was obviously that lot 2 system is fairly large, and it was also designed with the freshman almost approach in mind, so it doesn't account for any of the impervious area that's there now that's draining into it. Like Mr. Gavesta said, that wasn't specifically accounted for, but it appears that there's sufficient capacity in there, given that it's designed for a 50-year and given the conservative assumptions that were based around its modeling.
Okay, this is Eric again. Listen, I guess I didn't make myself clear, and I apologize. Okay, the systems that were calculated for the Coltex were calculated using Greenfield for the impervious surface, correct? And they can handle, as you can say, they can really handle a 50-year storm. Okay, what I'm suggesting here is the output from the sump pumps is an additional water source that's going into the Coltex. Okay, and my question. So you have two sources. One is the impervious surface running into the Coltex, and the second source, which I haven't quite understood if it's been addressed or not, is the outlet from the sump pumps. Okay, okay. If they're going to go into the Coltex, and the answer to that from Doug DeVesta was yes. So then the question was, is the calculations for the Coltex sufficient? Are the Coltex of sufficient size to be able to handle both sources of water?
I mean, based on my calculations, I believe they are. They're going to get infiltration as well as exfiltration into the ground and around the system, and then be metered out. It's going to be metered out to through the detention system. So any water that comes in there is going to be metered out. So we're not really increasing any flows out of the system.
Okay. Joe, do you concur?
I apologize. I was just doing a calculation, and no, I agree. It's about a typical sump pump discharge is about 0.1 cubic feet per second. So it's a fairly small rate, when you compare it to the 50-year storm.
So Joe, you as a licensed engineer in the state of Connecticut, having reviewed these calculations, they're going to be able to handle all the sump pump all the sump pumps during a 50-year storm, okay? Because then you have the worst of both worlds, okay? Because you have water that will be infiltrating into the basement, which is going to be pretty obvious because it's 5 feet below the water table, okay? And so the only way to avoid that is either make the basement a bathtub-like structure, so it's sealed off and no water gets in, or if it gets pumped out, it's got to go into the Coltex. And if you have 2 or 3 sump pumps, okay, that's a lot of extra water going into the Coltex.
depends on the number of sump pumps you're going to have. Each sump pump that you have contributes 0.1 CFS, or tenth of a cubic foot per second, which, and maybe Mr. Vesta can clarify, what is the 50-year discharge from the engineering report? I don't have that handy.
Yeah, I'm looking for it, Joe, too. So I have to go to my calculator. I have to go to my computer and look it up.
I got it.
Let's see. Just bear with me for a sec. You're probably going to see a lot of stuff going on here, guys, so hang on.
11.24, Doug?
I'll tell you in a second.
I think it's
You'll see all my
11.24.
calculations here.
Are you muted?
I am now.
Oh, okay.
You want me to-
No, it's all right. I was going to say it's 11.24. But
One rear yard.
Yeah, am I making myself clear in the question?
yeah, but it's a tiny little amount.
That's some pump puts out.
Yeah, compared to the storm.
Really? Okay.
I just got to get myself bearings back in here again.
Okay. If someone would just tell me that.
Well, I think the problems we've had is when it's not controlled and it's discharging on somebody in August. Whereas, if it's going into a controlled area, infiltrating, and it's not causing somebody a nuisance,
Okay.
then it works. Then it's okay.
Okay, I'll give it up.
Yeah. Hey, Doug,
Yeah.
is it 11.24?
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds about right. Let me just take a look at that.
That's what I got on your chart.
Yeah, my chart here. Yeah. 11.24 CFS, Joe.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a fairly small amount compared to what's going in there. I suppose the other thing I would check, I would have to check is what the elevation of the water surface elevation of the water inside those Protex are, and how much room there is to spare in there. If there's any excess capacity in there. I could take a look through the engineering report and pull that out.
Should I give him time and just say he
I
can
think
get back to me?
Ask if he wants to get back to you. You want to?
Hey, guys, if you want to get back to me on the answer to that question, I'm fine.
45.9 is the peak in there.
Okay.
Started all this was 5 Holly Lane,
It's,
and that was a nuisance.
Joe, the peak is almost 46, and the bottom of the chamber is at 46.2. So basically, and it's a contactor 100, so 12 inches. So basically, the system is being used very little relative to the overall storm. So we've got plenty of capacity in there. We've got almost 12 inches of capacity in that.
By the way, we're not allowed to come on
the unit itself. So you can see by my drawing here, Joe, you got 45.9 is the peak. And that's handling the roof areas from the detention, from the house itself. Because you got that's the roof area, it's 1,300 square feet. You have a drainage, you have the flow rate of 40, the peak is at 49.5, and this is for a 50-year design storm. So we've got in the bottom of that chamber, chamber bottom is at 46.25. So right at the bottom, then it's in the Cultec 1, it's a compact 100. So you got 12 inches of freeboard in there. So to my mind, you've got plenty of capacity to handle the roof leaders and the flow from the sump pumps.
Okay. Let me see. Did we go through, we went through the commission, right, Rich?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Should we open up to the public then? Sure. Let's open it up to the public. Is there somebody from the public who would like to speak on this?
Yes,
Name and address.
I would like to speak.
Okay. When the member of the public would like to speak, if you could kindly state your name and your address, so for the record. So and then please speak.
Hi, my name is Dr. Christine Hamilton Hall. I own 53 Sunswick Road, which is the property immediately adjacent, and just south of the property that we're discussing tonight. So, good evening, and thank you for listening to our comments. I'm very fond of the Orsmans, and I want them to be able to sell their house just as much as anybody else does. And I wish them lots of luck. I've sent people to look at the house. But frankly, I'm shocked that this proposal has made it as far as it has, because there are several omissions and misrepresentations that should be addressed. And I do understand that Mr. Pagliarulo and the Palladian builders do wish to capitalize on their investments, so I understand why they want to put as many homes as possible on this property. But most of the property is these giant elephant rocks of granite, and there are two waterways that are not adequately and appropriately depicted on the site plans. One of the waterways, which is in between my house and the southernmost waterway, is actually a stream most of the year. It's been pretty dry since the beginning of this year, but it gets very, very wide. When I was putting in a small standalone garage on my property, I had to keep it a certain amount of distance from the waterway. So I was watching the waterway to make sure that I didn't make it too close to that. And that waterway gets to be about 8 feet wide. And it gets to be about 8 feet wide just with a moderate storm, it got even wider during Sandy and all of the other storms. But it gets to be that wide when we have a moderate storm. That would place the edge of that water less than 10 feet from the edge of the garage that they're proposing. And so I find it very interesting that the builders' representatives knew of the second waterway, yet chose not to depict it on the plans. I find that very suspicious. But I also, if you go up to the two fresh ponds, one of them is behind Mrs. Penn's house. She lives upstream, just east of the Orsman's house. There's a large stream there, and I had pictures that I wanted to bring tonight that show this property. If you look at her freshwater spring pond, you can see that it's low a little bit now, because right next to it you see her house, and the house shows the water line of just the recent rains. Mrs. Penn has not been there lately, but you can see I'm trying to pull it up on my phone. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but you can see, can you see it in here? Oh yeah, you can see it better than I thought. So this shows the pond right here, and you can see that it lies below and pretty far away from the garage. This is the garage here. This is the garage, and this is the stream. And if you look at the garage, you can see the water line on that. That's a pretty significant water line. It goes about over a foot, about 18 inches up. And that's from that stream when it overflows. Now, if you look at the stream right now, which is the time when they're taking all of those pictures and doing the assessments of how well the drains can handle this fresh water running into them, that's based on this pond, which now is a foot below the wall, and goes a foot and a half deeper than that. So we're over 2 feet below in that pond of what it gets when it rains. And so for them to say that plug, the smaller plug that's been omitted from the plans, is a dry plug is completely wrong. I've seen that plug spit out water with the same amount of force as a fire plug. When they open up the city fire plugs, that amount of force comes out of that plug when we have a moderate rain. And that same amount of force comes out of the lower plug. So to comment that you can add more to those two that I have personally seen on multiple occasions completely full is a misrepresentation of the facts. And I understand that when you do the test, you can only make the assessment based on that, but the area gets very, very wet. And it comes very close to where they're proposing to put the new garage. And when I think it was Matt, someone named Matt was showing where or it might have been Doug, was showing where the current house lies. He was showing it as lying well into where the north property is. It doesn't lie there. It lies much further south to where this property is. And they're misrepresenting it. And again, I understand that there's this old adage between the builders that they say it's easier to beg for forgiveness than to ask for permission. So they're looking to do things like blasting and putting in a basement. Well, when the neighbor across the probably 100 yards away from me put in a basement, our basement started, which had never gotten water before, it started to drain, and it drains every day, 24 hours a day. It drains, and it's going to drain even more if they attempt blasting right next door to us in the Oarsman's house. So it's we had to put in a sump pump, do the basement systems, and we have a backup of that, and then we have to have a backup generator for it, and that's everything that they would need there. But then our situation is going to get worse, and everything drains into Mr. Bragg's backyard. And I'm about 100 yards away from Mr. Bragg's backyard, and I can see standing water after every moderate-sized rain. He has a little pond back there in his backyard that fills up with water, and I don't know how much the septic is going to drain into that, but I'm sure he doesn't want more septic water going in there than already, and he certainly doesn't need more water, and it stays for at least a week after a decent-sized rain, and it stays in his backyard, and hopefully he's on the call and can address what it does to his backyard, but it's already a very bad situation. And I think that these additions to split this in two is going to make this untenable. And I don't, I understand that I happen to have a couple of doctorates in biology degree, and none of it is in this, I'm not sure what this man's degree is, but it's something, he has a degree in landscape environmental engineering or something like that. Well, he should be able to see the drain, the second drain. And I understand, and he should understand, the whole concept of homeostasis. I understand homeostasis in the body, and I understand homeostasis in our environment. And if these plans were to go through, I think that in order for the town to get a little bit more revenue for a second house, we would then have the homeostasis disrupted of this entire environment, and it's paramount importance to the stability of our homes, the land around our homes, and our waterways. And to have all this fresh water that now is just flooding into everybody's basements, flooding into Mr. Bragg's backyard and probably his basement, I just don't think is acceptable, because we have to I have no problem with them building another house and keeping everything away from this waterway. But if we don't have a symbiotic environment in this neighborhood and don't make the difficult, bad freshwater pond drainage that we already have make it even worse, I think it's going to cause a big problem. And I think it's very short-sighted for the town to allow the destruction that Mother Nature will have in this, and that we would destroy the symbiotic relationship that we have now, just so that we have a short-term gain in property taxes and put up a second home. And I also want to comment that I'm a little disappointed that when I showed up at the town hall this evening, I was sent away and not told that that we were not allowed to attend this. It's not appropriate that we're not allowed to attend this and show our photos in person. And we were told that we were going to be able to be there. Yet the builders obviously knew that it was going to be there because they had their presentation set up so that they could show it online. And also the first version of the plans are the only ones that are up online for people to view. And we've gotten something that says 1 of 3, but we certainly haven't gotten what is apparently the most recent plans, and we are adjacent to it. And we have spoken with all of the neighbors around on Sunswick Road from their house, from one house beyond theirs, on down Sunswick Road, and every single one of them is opposed to the splitting of this in 2 levels and putting a house where it says. So I just wanted to have myself heard, and I wanted to suggest that I don't think it's appropriate that this be finalized today. I think that we should have a talk at a later time when this waterway can be addressed, and so that somebody can go and actually look at the freshwater pond, see what it does, and you really have to see the property when it's raining to get an idea of how significant it really is. And I also want to know when this idea of blasting came along, because this is the first I've ever heard of somebody planning to blast within 50, 100 feet of my home. That's all I wanted to say. I'm sure there's other neighbors that want to say something else.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hamilton Hall. First, as chair, I'm going to request that you submit your photos to Rich Jacobson so that they can be distributed to the commission members. I understand that there's the website. Normally people come in and ask questions of Rich in a normal course of business, but given that the environment that we're in, everybody has to access the papers via the website, right, Rich? And
this current plan, we can post that.
And so and that the first version is up on the website, and the second version wasn't up there till
more recently.
More recently, and it's very apparent that from Dr. Hamilton Hall's comments that the neighbors haven't had a chance to take a look at that, and I, as a chair, would like to give the neighbors the chance to do that. So I'm gonna keep this hearing open, and we'll get back to it. When's our next meeting? July.
No, let me. I should have that. July 8th.
July 8th. Okay, so the next commission will be meeting will be July 8th, and we'll keep this open.
I believe it's
so that the neighbors we'll get your photos. Hopefully, Dr. Hamilton Hall. We'll
double check.
What?
Go ahead.
We'll check on the date of the 8th, but and that the neighbors have a chance to review the new plans. And Rich will make sure that he gets whatever the new plans are from Doug DeVesta, and we're all in sync. We're all dealing with the latest plans because that's got to be a certain level of frustration. Jim, are you okay with that?
I would urge us to do that, Eric. I think Gunnar used an expression earlier that I was thinking of as I listened to Dr. Hamilton Hall, and thank her for her close observations. and comments. I was out at the site today. It was my first time,
July 1st.
but it was a rather
It's July 1st.
it was a rather thorough inspection and a rather extensive walkover of this property to which she is adjacent. And there's a dramatic changes in topography. There's ravine. Somebody used the word ravine. That sounds a little large, but it's appropriate, I guess. And a big outcrop.
It is a ravine.
Outcropping. Okay, thank you. It's a ravine. I'm corrected. And I just think the local knowledge and the history of water management going through this area that Dr. Hall is able to share with us requires us to keep this open so that we can better understand and give all neighbors the latest and up-to-date plans for them to review and comment in our public hearing.
That's for the public comment? We'll keep it open for...
See if there's anybody else, yeah.
Okay, I think we've come to we will keep the meeting, we will keep this EPC 05-2020, 49 Sunswick, open until the next meeting, I believe, is July 1, okay, is July 1. And so we will keep it open. And that we can continue neighbors' comments then, okay? Because we'll all be dealing with the same set of plans, et cetera. If there is a neighbor that would like to would like to continue speaking, given that we're going to keep this public hearing open until July 1, I'm willing to entertain anybody anybody from the public who would like to speak now, but please know that you will have the opportunity to speak July 1st.
Okay, so one question from neighbors was allowed tonight, and
Excuse me, sir. If you're going to speak, one thing I've requested of Dr. Hamilton Hall, is that you state your name and your address for the record.
Phil Riggio, 59 Sunswick Road.
Thank you.
We're right next to the Hamilton Halls. So I just heard one question allowed from neighbors tonight, and you're saying that this will be open to questions until July, so you want to defer further questions until then, is that correct?
No, you can.
No, that's up to you. If you have questions and comments, we welcome them. You can say them now. You can hold them till July 1st, because my only issue is that you may be dealing with a series of plans that may not be the most current plan, and so therefore your comments and questions would be directed to an old plan, which is not really relevant at that point in time. So what I'm going to encourage, Rich is going to put up the latest information.
The drawings that's on the screen now.
Okay, the drawings that are on the screen now, which are the latest from Doug DeVesta, hopefully updated, Doug, with the other drain and things like this, and then your comments can be directed towards the new the latest information, as opposed to what you may be dealing with is old information. So that's up to you.
Well, yeah, I understand that. And that being said, the topography has been what it's been in this area for essentially forever. That's not going to change. And I do understand that this is an EPA meeting, and you're a little bit focused on drainage and facts and figures, but I don't really understand how this proposal can be considered without a view on how this impacts the overall character of the existing neighborhood of Delafield Island. And to me, I just see a homeowner who's unable to sell and a builder who decided, hey, if I split the deck, I can make a profit here. So, I just think that we're getting a little distracted by the minutia in terms of water runoff, and the things that you guys have been discussing, and you're not really taking into consideration the bigger picture here, which is the character of this neighborhood. And that, to me, is the big problem that we need to address.
We have no.
Mr. Riggio,
now, July 1st, I know the neighbor that Christine referenced, his yard is always wet. It's always wet back there, and it's raining now and it's flooded. And if anyone wants to stop over and check it out, it's a swamp back there. So, I guess that's the essence of what I had to say.
Okay, the essence of the Environmental Protection Commission is to deal with the inland wetlands and watercourses. Characters of neighborhoods and things like that are probably better addressed to the Planning and Zoning, which is having a meeting on this at some point. I'd have to check their agenda. But it's very clearly going to Planning and Zoning, as Doug said earlier, and because they'll be dealing with that. The blasting is also an issue that should be addressed to the planning and zoning. Okay, because
but I can state, just having lived here for 8 years, that the Hamilton Hall sump pump is running 24/7. One house, no pool, and you guys are what's being proposed: 2 houses, 2 pools, blasting. I think we can kind of see where this is going, and it's not a positive direction in terms of the environment. And I also do find it very curious that that second drain pipe was somehow omitted from this plan.
Well, the second drain pipe is being added in. As I mentioned, Doug will do it, and he'll revise this as appropriate and submit it to Rich, so we can be put up on the website, and everybody can have and everybody's dealing with the same information. Thank you, Mr. Riggio. Is there any other members of the public that would like to speak?
July 1st.
Okay, but this public hearing will then be.
Eric, can I make a statement?
Of course, Doug.
This is Doug DeVesta. The last comment from the homeowner at 59 Sunsweat saying there's 2 new houses. Well, there's technically only one house being added. There's already an existing house on the property, so we're only adding 1 new house to the neighborhood.
And 2
so I just want to make that point. And also, this will be going to planning and zoning public hearing, which is, I believe, is going to be on next Tuesday night on the 9th of June. That's all I have to say for now.
They're bigger homes and it's 2 basements.
Okay.
I'm sorry, this is Stephanie Riggio at 59 Sunswick, just with one quick question. The current house that is there, does it have an existing basement now? It sounds like it does not.
We will find out.
Thank you. I think that's important because you're talking 2 pools, 1 new house, at least 1 new basement, tons of blasting, and a total change of, the existing structures. So, thank you.
This is Dr. Hamilton Hall. The Orsmans are on the call, so they can tell you whether they have a basement or not if the builders don't know that.
Well,
We'll find out by July 1st.
we'll find out for July 1st for sure. Okay.
This is Mr. Orsman. I wish to respond. Can you hear me?
No.
Not really.
Not really.
Kind of.
Can you hear me?
Christine
turned off her phone.
I don't
What?
know, some kind of
My
feedback.
phone is not on.
Well, we have some sort of feedback issue here. Fred, can you identify it?
It's not clear where the feedback is coming from at this point. Mr. Orsman, if he has his computer audio on, also the phone, that could be causing the feedback, but it's not entirely clear where the feedback is coming from.
Okay. I turned off my phone.
Okay. Listen, we'll find out the information on the basement long before July 1, I hope. Okay. So, with that said, is there any other member of the public that would like to speak?
This is Fred Donite. I would just mention that in the chat box, we just did get communication from Mr. Orsman that is in fact a basement in the house.
Yes, got that.
Okay.
Yep, I see that. Okay.
And it's a full basement? This is Dr. Hamilton Hall again. Because ours is only 10 feet by 10 feet.
It is a partial basement.
It's bigger than your house.
Okay. All right, well, listen, okay, we've identified that there's a partial basement in the existing house, and that we'll be reopening this public hearing on July 1.
Yeah.
Okay? So that concludes it. I see messages going through here, Chris. Maybe you want to contact them directly, because the EPC is going to move on now to EPC 07-2020, Mark Iyer and Shimaman, 11 Shady Acres Road, proposing new replacement house construction in an upland review area. The site is shown on Assessor's Map number 4 as lot number 8. Okay, and representing...
Hey, Eric, it's Kelly, real quick. Can we just make sure for the public, for all the public hearings, I'm not sure why it's mysterious to people that Town Hall is closed, but all of the commission members are participating via GoToMeeting, respecting social distancing. I would expect members of the public to do the same and make sure that we're clear with people how to submit their documentation in advance for public hearings to Rich, just so that it's clear to everybody the process.
Yeah, if you submit it to either via email or via our drop-off box in the town hall during business hours, and we'll make copies if necessary, but we distribute it to each of the commission members and their consultants. We try and keep things up to date on the web. The plan that was submitted tonight, I believe, has minor changes, but it's going to be changed again to show this additional drain pipe. So we'll post both the plan from tonight, and then when the new one comes in, we'll post that also.
I don't think it was clear in the newspaper that you couldn't show up to the town hall.
Okay, we'll make that very clear. That's a policy that may change in the future, but if at the present time, it's Eric and I, and Jeremy was here for a while. That's it.
Yep.
Okay, good. It was attached to the agenda.
Oh, and also we can put up photos and such on the GoToMeeting also. So
if she submits them, then we can do that.
We can put them.
That's a good idea.
Fred,
okay.
We can do that, right?
Fred?
Yes, we can.
Thank you.
We can. Yes, we can.
We can put them on the screen during the meeting.
Thank you. Yeah, for the general public. I agree.
It helps us to get things ahead of time, though, and I apologize if it was unclear that you couldn't submit material for the meeting, but we will get it up on during the meeting.
Okay, anybody else from the commission? Okay. Who's the representative for
11
Shady Acres Road?
I think it's Doug.
Doug?
Yeah.
Doug DeVest, are you there?
Here we go.
Doug?
Yep.
Okay, we've moved on to 11 Shady Acres Road. I believe you're the applicant's representative?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay, you do. Okay. Okay, Doug DeVesta, professional engineer, representing the applicant for 11 Shady Acres. The parcel is a 2-acre parcel located in the R2 zone. They're located on the west side of Shady Acres. There is an existing house on the property. Let me pull up. See, that's not going to show it. Here it is. Okay, so this is the existing conditions map. So there's the hash marks you see is the existing house. Wetlands were flagged by Auto Theo on November 17th and 19th of 2019. The wetlands are from, go back to my site plan, are shown in this lighter green color. Goes from, bisects the property from the north to the south. And then there's a small wetlands pocket, wooden wetland pocket in the back. Matt Pop is also is the environmental person on this plant, on this project, and he will go through that in more detail. The proposal is to raise basically about 85 feet from the property line and construct a new residence further from the wetlands, sliding it closer to the road, moving the driveway down, providing a horseshoe driveway in and out, looking at doing a detention system, and also a new septic system further in the back. The existing septic system currently is in the front of the house between the road and the house itself. That will be abandoned, a new one installed. There's an existing well on site that will be, could not find the location, but that will be found and abandoned. New well will be placed in the front of the house between the driveway and the road itself. The property slopes from a ridge line that's along the easterly portion of the property towards the road, and then from that portion back towards the center of the property towards the wetlands, and the rear portion, westerly portion of the site will drain towards the wetlands as well. We've collected, we are looking at doing several detention systems. One will be on the north side, collecting a portion of the house and driveway. That'll go into a detention system on the north side, and then another small detention system on the south and east side of the property, collecting a portion of the driveway and an additional portion of the house itself. That will be drained out to a level spreader, which will provide sheet flow from the runoff from the detention system out towards the wetlands on both the detention systems. The systems were designed as a fresh meadow approach per planning and zoning, meaning we have no credit from the existing residents and looking at just as a vacant lot. And we show a zero increase in runoff for the 2, 10, 25, and 50-year design storms. As you'll see, the red line is the upland review area for the main wetland through the bisects of property, and there's another piece, like I said, out in the back, west portion of the site, and so is the upland review area. The septic system was reviewed and approved by the health department in March, so we've got the approval from the health department. We've got a detention system. We've got a sump pump for the foundation that will go pump across the wetlands, the same trench as the force main for the septic system out to a detention system in the back. Eric, I believe at the last meeting you asked us to do a test hole on the site to determine the groundwater elevation, and we dug a test hole right at the corner of the house, right at the south and west corner of the existing house. We found groundwater to be at 12 inches. We've got a basement level based on our design here at 187.5. The groundwater elevation based on our test hole was at 185.7. We figured the footing with bottom would be at 186.3, and the elevation of the footing drain would be about 186.8. So we're about 1.5 feet above the actual groundwater based on that and test hole we dug by the existing house. So the sump pumps the footing drains are above the groundwater level. So really, we don't feel that this is going to be pumping 24/7 as you may expect because the area being so wet. So that's kind of where we are right now with it. Crossing the wetland the wetlands area that we're crossing. If you've been out to the site, it's basically all an existing disturbed area, a lawn area. We've also, this commission has reviewed and approved a crossing of an actual brook over on Valley Forge Road just recently, probably the last 6 months. So again, that was a little more challenging than this one here. Again, we're crossing a wetland area for that, to get it over to the other side. Because there's really no additional room on the house side of the property itself. At this point, I'd like to ask Matt to go through his environmental assessment of the property and talk about our mitigation plan that we're proposing.
Thank you, Doug. I'm Matt Pop, landscape architect, professional wetland scientist. We prepared the environmental assessment report in the wetland mitigation plan. Just like to briefly describe the existing conditions. As Doug noted, there's an existing house and maintained lawns on the eastern portion of the site, and mainly the western portion of the site is undisturbed woodlands. There are 2 wetland areas on the site. The smaller wetland area is approximately 40 by 60. It's an isolated wetland area within the woodlands, and that will remain undisturbed. The larger wetland that bisects the site, kind of flows in the north to south direction, is approximately 250 feet long from the northern property down to the southern property line. It's about 10 to 40 feet in width. The northern portion of the site, approximately 60 to 70 feet, there's a water course that flows from the northern property line in that 60 to 70 foot section where it is picked up by a catch basin. That northern section is maintained in a natural state. But from that catch basin, right where Doug has his cursor, the water course is piped under the existing wetland lawn area down and is discharged down by the southern property line. That wetland behind the existing house, just to the west, is the wetland lawn. It goes right up to the existing house foundation. It appears to me that it was excavated down when the house was built. You can kind of see there's from the woodland to the west, it slopes down several feet to the wetland lawn area. The functions of the wetlands, one would be conveyance of stormwater, surface water that's being piped, and there's some groundwater discharge. There's being that the wetland lawn area is flat, that wetland area will be able to trap sediments and remove nutrients from the stormwater runoff. There's some protection export, which is wildlife, producing wildlife food, mainly in the northern portion of the site where it's undisturbed. And there's some wildlife habitat. We did check the natural diversity database, and the site lies outside any highlighted delineated area, so again, no species of special concern threatened or endangered. We are proposing a new house. The new house is shifted approximately 7 to 8 feet, I would say, to the